pressured, he's hit, the ball's out, the ball is picked up by Ragland, touchdown! It's a Sammy Watkins-Palooza touchdown! Kansas City!
Hey, that's dope.
The date was January 15th, 1967. The Chiefs and Packers met in Super Bowl I, and while the result that day went in favor of the Packers, the NFL as we know it today was built in the 19,000 days that have since followed. And tonight, on a picture-perfect fall night, these two historic franchises meet once again. It's the 6-1 Packers against the 5-2 Chiefs. And we're here to break it all down for you. The latest news, the top storylines, and what to watch tonight. We've got it all here for you on Field Pass. I am Chiefs reporter BJ Kissel, joined once again by 10-year NFL veteran linebacker Shawn Barber. Shawn, how are you feeling tonight? You're always jazzed, you're always juiced, but we've got the lights going. It's a perfect night. How are you feeling right now?
Hey, man, I feel like it's on fire tonight, man. We got the Arrowhead Stadium. You know one thing? It's too many of these green Packer cheeseheads in our stadium. We need to get those jokers out of the lower level, get them back up to the 300 level where they belong. This is Arrowhead Stadium, man. The Sea of Red lives here.
As you can see, we are live from the field here at Arrowhead Stadium, and the guys are getting out to the field to warm up. Right behind us, Anthony Sherman is getting it going. You're seeing the guys coming through the tunnel right there, and we have got a great show for you tonight. And you got to stay with us because we've got TEREZ PAYLOR, former Kansas City Star beat writer now with Yahoo Sports, is with us. Mitch HOLTHUS is going to give us a little story time with Mitch HOLTHUS. We've got a new little segment in the show that I think you're all going to like. And then last but not least, we are going to be joined by the Chiefs' all-time leading tackler, one of your favorite players, and one of the best to ever step foot on that field in Derrick Johnson. But first, Shawn, the talk all week was Patrick Mahomes and the injury to his knee, and was he going to play? How was he practicing? What was going on? And we know he's not going to play tonight, but there were some other questions, particularly for the Packers, over who might play tonight. So to get more information on that real quick, let's shoot it over to Matt McMullen, who has tonight's inactive players for both teams. Matt?
Yeah, BJ, well, of course, the big news, and not a surprise, no Patrick Mahomes here tonight for the Chiefs. Means Matt Moore will get another chance to show what he can do for this Chiefs offense. Moore, of course, was thrust into action when Mahomes was hurt last week and played pretty well, preserved the lead, threw a touchdown pass, and, of course, won the game. So excited to see what Moore can do for the Chiefs here against the Packers this evening. A few other significant inactives for the Chiefs here this evening. Again, not surprises. These guys were all ruled out on Friday. But Chris Jones, Frank Clark, Kendall Fuller, Andrew Wiley, and Eric Fisher, all starters who will not be playing for the Chiefs here tonight. But, this team preaches the next man up mentality all the time. I'm excited to see what the guys that wouldn't be playing otherwise can do when given this opportunity, if they can take it and run with it. So we'll see what happens there. For the Packers, a few significant injuries. DAVANTE Adams, their star wide receiver, he has some turf toe, has missed the last few games. He was doubtful coming into this one, and he is not going to play here tonight. So pretty big news there. And also Blake Martinez, who leads the NFL in tackles. He was questionable coming in with an injury late in the week. It was a sore wrist. He's active here tonight for them, but I'm curious to see if the injury hampers him at all. But BJ, back to your original point, Patrick Mahomes not playing here tonight. It's the Matt Moore Show. Let's see what he can do. BJ, back to you.
And as Matt just said right there, it is going to be the Matt Moore Show tonight. I looked it up. It's been exactly 700 days since Matt Moore made his last start. He's actually making his 32nd career start here tonight, but his first against the Packers. And the good news for Matt Moore is he's got Andy Reid as his head coach. And Shawn, as a former player, when you're thinking about this matchup, you're breaking it down, you're watching the tape throughout the week, just how do you expect the Chiefs offense to look different with the play calling with Matt Moore, quarterback, rather than what we've seen with Patrick Mahomes?
Maybe a little bit less of the motions and shifts, keeping it simplistic. Maybe Andy Reid dialing back to what we know he used to do with that West Coast offense, getting the ball out of his hands really quick, into the playmaker's hands as quick as possible, the slant game, the screen game, and then maybe some draws to LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah, one of the advantages, and it was talked about a little throughout the week, but one of the advantages, and you know this as a former player, is that these offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, and play callers, so much of their play calling is based on tendencies. It's based on the stats, the percentages of how often are they in this coverage and this down and distance, or how often are they running this play on this part of the field, again, on this hash, and all those tendencies go out the window when you've got Matt Moore and you've got a different quarterback. So if you're looking for optimism, you're looking for a reason to feel good about this, and you know that Andy Reid is one of the best out there to do this, is that there's no tendency. The Packers have nothing to go on what the Chiefs may do in certain situations.
Yeah, with a quarterback like Matt Moore, it's one or two things they're going to do. They're either going to come after him and bring the house every down and try to rush him, or they're going to play back and play solid defense, try to keep the ball in front of him, make him complete the ball, make the running backs do everything in front of him, and just go tackle him. I would suspect the Green Bay Packers try to be really aggressive, knowing they got Aaron Rodgers on their offensive side. They can put up some scores really quick. So look for the Chiefs' offense to be a quick-hitting, attack-style offense coming out the gate.
And you just saw it right there. Tyreek Hill is the guy in prime time that Matt Moore, we saw it last week against the Broncos. They had the nice hookup down the field that you got to love what Tyreek Hill has done throughout his career in prime time. This guy has 17 career touchdowns of at least 50 yards. And that's in 50 career games, Sean, which means 1 out of every 3 games that Tyreek Hill has played in his career, he has a 50-yard touchdown. 10 of those 17 50-yard touchdowns have come in prime time. And luckily tonight is prime time. But one of the ways the Chiefs can take pressure off of Matt Moore, besides just getting the ball in the hands of guys like Tyreek Hill, is with the running game. It's with LaShawn McCoy, who we know is flirting with entering the top 20 in all-time in NFL history as far as rushing yards. So tonight, what do you expect to see from the ground game and LaShawn McCoy in particular?
Hey, especially with a young quarterback, a quarterback that hasn't been familiar with our offense, let that ground and pound work. Let LaShawn McCoy, let him get grinding and try to wear down that Packers defense. We can't have Matt Moore dropping back 30, 40 times a game trying to come back. Let's shorten the game, keep the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands, and let's win that time of possession here tonight.
That's the recipe that a lot of teams have tried to use against us, and it's a recipe. We actually saw so much out of the Broncos game was talked about with the Chiefs defense and the dominating performance they had, and we'll get to that in a minute. But that and the Patrick Mahomes injury was all really people that talked about. But LaShawn McCoy is really what got that going. And let's take a quick look here at some of the plays that we saw from LaShawn McCoy last week against the Denver Broncos, and you saw it right here early in the game, just following his blockers, and we've talked about it before with those offensive linemen. Those guys love to get after it, to get nasty, to hit people and play offensively as opposed to pass protecting the whole time where they're kind of sitting back and playing defensive.
Yeah, going east-west until you see that hole open up and then able to explode vertical and hit those gaps. LaShawn McCoy has always been one of the best in the league at hitting those vertical gaps, and then once he sees it, he makes you pay for it. LaShawn McCoy is an explosive player. We got to get him the ball as much as possible.
Yeah, this guy's been making plays ever since he got here to Kansas City, and there's a nice look. We may see that tonight. Matt Moore handing off to LaShawn McCoy, and this guy, his feet, he might not have the top-end speed that he once did earlier in his career, but this guy's feet are every bit as good as they've been, and he will make guys miss at the second level. And you look at the Packers defense, and they've allowed some big plays so far this season. Those guys have made plays. A lot of the main statistics you look at will show that they're a very good defense, and they are, but they've been susceptible to the big play at different times so far this season. But right now, let's flip it to the other side of the ball and talk about the Chiefs defense going up against Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur in this new offense. This isn't the same Aaron Rodgers, the offense that he had been in through a lot of his career. That now that Matt LaFleur comes in, he kind of comes from that Shanahan, that Sean McVay, the RPO, the outside zone, a lot of that stuff. But for the Chiefs defense that was so good last week at getting pressure on Joe Flacco, how do they carry what they did against the Broncos over to this game?
Man, just keep being aggressive. The one thing you know you can't do with Aaron Rodgers, you can't give him 3 and 4 seconds to make decisions back there. You can't let the play action keep you from being aggressive when it comes to the defensive front and the linebackers attacking. An attack-style defense will always give Aaron Rodgers some pressure.
Yeah, and we've seen it. And let's take a look here real quick at how pressure is always a team stat. And right here, we're going to see one of the bigger plays of the game, one of the many sacks they've gotten. This is the key one right there where Anthony Hitchens hits him. Reggie Ragland picks it up and takes it in. But let's take a look right here at Colin Saunders, the rookie defensive tackle, occupying Dalton Reisner, the Broncos left guard, which opens up Anthony Hitchens and Reggie Ragland right here. Watch the spacing and how it all kind of works together. So when you say that team defense, that everybody has to be working together and it takes a little bit of time for it all to come together, this is a perfect example right here of everybody being involved on the play, and that it wasn't just that Hitchens beat his guy or came in and made a good play. Colin Saunders doesn't give any credit on that play right there. And here's another example right here on why it's a team game, team defense. You're going to see safety Juan Thornhill back here deep. It's 3rd and 5. He's going to immediately off the snap come down to the first down marker, which causes Joe Flacco to hesitate because he wants to go to Deshaun Hamilton right here. And you'll see Flacco hesitate, come off that read, and by then it's too late. He's maybe getting a little skittish in the pocket, but right there takes it down. And again, that's Juan Thornhill doing a great job.
Well, he's been a great player for us so far his rookie season. He's so aggressive and has so much athleticism on that back end. He's the guy that can make plays at all 3 levels. On the blitz, middle level and also on a deep ball. You saw his hands a few weeks ago. So he's a big play guy. Big-time guys make big-time plays in big-time games.
Yeah, he's one of the guys. Tyrann Mathieu, Juan Thornhill, you know those guys are going to be tested because Aaron Rodgers, the Packers may try to get the running game. They're going to do what they do, but at the end of the day, the Packers offense runs through number 12, and the Chiefs defense has to be ready for it, and I believe they will be. But another thing about Aaron Rodgers, he's only been, and I thought this was interesting when you look at all the stats and all the advanced analytics, Aaron Rodgers has only been sacked 12 times this season. He's got 2 great tackles, and Brian Bulaga on the right side and David Bakhtiari on the left side. But when you look at his advanced analytics through Pro Football Focus, he holds it the 3rd longest of any quarterback in the NFL. 2.79 seconds is his average before attempting a pass, which normally when you see an average that high, you see a lot of sacks. You see a quarterback who likes to hold on to the ball, but that's not the case with Aaron Rodgers.
Well, his offensive line, they know he holds it, and they try to withstand and stay on their blocks as long as possible because they don't know when that ball is coming out. A lot of time on 3 steps, he's holding it 3 and 4 seconds beyond, trying to let his receivers uncover down the field for the big plays down the field. So Aaron Rodgers is one of those crafty guys. He kind of knows when you're coming, knows when you're not, and so he knows when he can hold the ball a little bit. So it's on our defense. We really have to disguise and kind of bring some pressure in places where he's not used to seeing it.
Yeah, you bring up great points right there, and I know that when you look at Aaron Rodgers and you talk about the free play, that's one thing we don't want to see it tonight where defensive linemen jump off sides. That center knows, snap it real quick, and then he's going to take a shot down the field. He's been so good at it. Hopefully the Chiefs, and especially Juan Thornhill, Tyrann Mathieu, they'll be heads up to that stuff. But right now we are going to send it to a new segment here on Field Pass, one I think you will all enjoy. And we're going to send it to voice of the Chiefs, Mitch HOLTHUS, who's going to give us a little bit of story time.
Well, on this edition of Storytime, the Chiefs Kingdom needs to know that 3 of the most improbable victories in the 60-year history of this franchise came against the Green Bay Packers. And what makes that really compelling is the teams don't play that often, only every 4 years in a rotation. But the first one that comes to mind was 1996 on a very cold day at Arrowhead Stadium. The Packers were a heavy favorite. They would go on to win the Super Bowl championship with a young emerging hero quarterback by the name of Brett Favre. Favre was really good that day. He threw for over 300 yards and a couple touchdowns. But he was outdone by a Chiefs rookie running back. Greg Hill out of Texas A&M had nearly 100 yards rushing and a 34-yard touchdown reception that proved to be the difference in the game. Greg Hill had lived up to expectations for that day. It will also be remembered by Chiefs fans because of the great pass-rushing duo, one of the best in NFL history. The late Derrick Thomas had 2 sacks of Favre in that game, and Neil Smith, his counterpart on the other side, also had a sack. But what the Chiefs Kingdom has probably forgotten is that when Brett Favre ran off the field that day at Arrowhead Stadium, he would run to his quarterback's coach, a young, mustachioed, full red-headed assistant coach by the name of Andy Reid. The Chiefs were not given much of a chance to win, and they beat Brett Favre on that day, a team that would go on to win a Super Bowl championship. Another improbable victory that comes to mind, 2003 at Lambeau Field. The Chiefs against the Green Bay Packers, and the Packers led in the 4th quarter by 17 points. Now, fans will remember one of the most iconic plays in franchise history that day, an overtime pass from Trent Green to Eddie Kennison to win the game in overtime. But hang on just a second. There's more to this story. The Chiefs probably wouldn't have had that chance had it not been for a couple of key defensive plays. The Packers were driving that day to extend their lead in the 4th quarter when a pass ricocheted off a helmet and into the arms of safety Jerome Woods of the Chiefs, who ran it back 79 yards for a pick-6 defensive touchdown. Fans have forgotten that. They also forgot in overtime the Chiefs won the toss and got the ball first. But that first possession wasn't the overtime toss from Green to Kennison. It was a quick 3 and out. The Chiefs had to punt the football, and the Packers had the ball near midfield. All Green Bay has to do is go down and kick a field goal and win the game in overtime. Instead, Ahman Green was stripped by the aforementioned Jerome Woods. Fumble, recovered by Mike Maslowski, that set up the offensive heroics. The Chiefs had little chance in that game to win. It was the first time in Green Bay history that the Packers had led at Lambeau Field by 17 points or more in the 4th quarter and lost. The other improbable victory, 2011. The Chiefs had about a .003 chance of winning, or so it seemed. The Packers had won 19 straight games. They were 13-0 on the heels of a Super Bowl championship. And Aaron Rodgers was now the primetime quarterback for Green Bay. And they had great players like Jordy Nelson, the former K-State star. The Chiefs were reeling. They had a backup quarterback wearing number 8 by the name of Kyle Orton. And what fans will remember in that game is Tamba Hali with 3 sacks and also a sack by Alan Bailey. What fans may forget, though, in that game was the Chiefs controlled the tempo, the time of possession, and scored at every opportunity, getting 4 field goals in that game for a 19-14 improbable upset.
Thanks, Mitch. And right now we are joined by somebody who doesn't need an introduction. The Chiefs' all-time leading tackler. I'm going to give him one anyway. All-time leading tackler, one of your favorite players, one of our favorite guys, Derrick Johnson. Thanks for joining us tonight, man.
Thank you. Thank you for that introduction, my man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going up against the Packers, which is kind of fitting. If you don't remember, that was the game that you became the Chiefs' all-time leading tackler against the Packers. From what you've seen so far, what are you excited to see tonight in this matchup?
Well, I'm excited to see how the Chiefs respond after losing Pat Mahomes. It's one of those things where the next man's up, but it's kind of a thing, not really the next man's up, the whole team's up. You know, it's one of those things where this is the ultimate team game, so everybody has to pitch in today, run the ball really well, get some turnovers on the defense side of the ball, and we're at home, so protect this house.
Well, DJ, look, I'm an old vet, so I want to go in the time machine. Let's go back to 2005.
Okay.
DJ is entering Arrowhead Stadium for the first time as a rookie. Y'all know you was a newbie. I was an old head trying to teach you the ways. What is something that you remember about Arrowhead Stadium back from that day?
You know what? The support and the amount of support you get here at this stadium, this is really an advantage for the home team. And I didn't know how special it was. I heard about it when I got drafted here. Everybody said, man, you're going to love this stadium when you get in Arrowhead to see it red. When you actually get in here, you have to really experience it. Yeah. It's one of those things where you'll see tonight, this Arrowhead Stadium is going to be rocking.
No doubt.
This task that the Chiefs defense has tonight going up against Aaron Rodgers and this Packers offense, it's a little different this year. They've got Matt LaFleur, who comes from that Sean McVay. It's a lot of RPOs, puts a lot of pressure on the linebackers. Just what's the key? I know there's a lot of different keys, but what's the most important thing in facing not just Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers in this particular offense?
You know what? This RPO, you know, I'm an old school guy. I hate the RPO. So this RPO, especially when you're playing safeties and linebackers, when you stack backer, you have to hold a second just because you have to wait because behind you slants are coming. So you have to hold a second, make sure the ball is handed off, and then have some sense of urgency getting over top, and hopefully your defensive lineman can set the edges and penetrate up the middle to turn that ball back into you. But the linebackers have to, and the safeties have to be really disciplined when it comes to the RPO.
So a little bit deeper on Aaron Rodgers. He was drafted a couple slots behind you in the draft.
He was.
And I still think that we did the right thing by taking you. All-time leading tackler here in Kansas City.
Yes,
my man Derrick Johnson. What is the way we can try to get in Aaron Rodgers' head tonight?
You know what? The crowd's going to help us. The 12th man, the crowd's really going to help us. But we have to affect the quarterback. And affecting the quarterback, it's not all about sacking him all the time, but sometimes moving him off the spot, making them uncomfortable, hitting them here and there at times. But I tell you what, being preventive from the linebacker standpoint, preventing throws where he has to make a hitch because he has a quick release and he gets the ball out really fast. This guy, you want to get him to hold the ball, so one of guys like Okafor, one of them guys to come and knock the balls out.
Hey DJ, before we let you go, I want to ask you one last question, because last time Chiefs fans saw you on Chiefs-related content was your one-day contract. Just now that you've had a little time to kind of digest, I know it is what it is, but just, what did that mean to you? They saw the visuals of you walking down the stairs and everybody giving claps. Just what did that whole day mean to you and that whole thing?
It meant a lot to me, man. You know what? You never know until you come back and experience that moment. It was a special moment. Coach Reed, they rolled out the red carpet for me, and man, I can't thank the Chiefs fan and this community for taking a young kid from Waco, Texas in 2005 and retiring after a 14-year career, man. I'm very blessed.
No doubt.
Yeah, we all appreciate it. One of the best to ever do it, and one of your all-time favorites. And right now, we're going to send it over to Matt McMullen, who's catching up with TEREZ PAYLOR to talk a little running game. And we don't have this guy back there, 56, so they're going to have to figure out how to stop Aaron Jones in this running game. Matt, let's shoot it to you.
Thanks, BJ. Well, Terez, looking at this Packers offense, BJ and Shawn talked a lot about Aaron Rodgers, and rightfully so, but their running game's been really good as well. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, two guys have been really big in this running game. And Matt LaFleur's offense, Rodgers obviously a big deal, but why is that running game so important, and why has it been so effective?
Well, look, it's the zone run scheme. It's very effective. Sean McVay does it. And these guys get after you up front. You know, Bakhtiari, Jenkins, Lindsley, Balaga. These guys that get after you, okay? And I watched that Dallas game a couple weeks ago. If you're not disciplined with your run fits and you're not physical at the point of attack, they're going to beat you up. They're going to gash you all game long. So it's going to be very important for the Chiefs to wrap up defensively and also be disciplined with their eyes and play with physicality.
That's my next question. The Chiefs played really well against the run last week against Royce Freeman, Philip Lindsay, a pretty good tandem in Denver. Very different offense, but some good running backs. No Frank Clark here tonight. He's obviously a big deal. But how can they carry over what they did well last week into this week's game and stop that run?
You know, I think it begins with playing with the same amount of aggression, right? I thought that team last week, the Chiefs, really showed up front, like, hey, we can be decisive downhill and play downhill. Joe Flacco used the phrase downhill in reference to the Chiefs' run game, run defense, like 5 times. So that's a pretty good indication of how you got to play decisive, attack the front, split some double teams, and make some plays.
Stopping the run also factors into getting after the passer, obviously. 9 sacks last week. If the Chiefs can stop the run here tonight, how important is that in getting after Rodgers and stopping what he can do?
Well, it starts there because you don't have a chance against the Packers unless you stop the run. So it doesn't matter what you have to do to start to do it. You better do it, because if they're able to run the football on you, that opens up the entire play action, the pre-snap motions, everything you saw in the Sean McVay offense, the Packers can do. And unlike the Rams, they have the quarterback that has the Patrick Mahomes magician trait. He can get out and make stuff happen once you've covered everything. So to even have a chance against the Packers, this is a 6-1 football team. It does start with stopping the run. If you can't do it, it'll be a long night. But the Chiefs showed last week, if they play that way, they're going to be right in this thing.
Sure. Should be a fun matchup to watch. Appreciate your time, Terez. I shadowed this guy back in 8th grade, BJ. Taught me everything I know. Yeah. But appreciate your time. One of the best. BJ, back to you.
This is the perfect guy to follow around as an 8th grader is Terez Paylor. Matt, so great job there. And Terez brings up a great point. We're going to maybe put some words in his mouth, but he said if the Chiefs can shut down the Packers running game, they'll have a chance, or they could have a chance like they did last week against the Broncos, so we're going to go with that. But in order to do that, and it's not just Aaron Jones, it's also Jamal Williams, the former BYU product, that has gotten this running game going enough to make the play action a threat in their passing game. But if the Chiefs are going to stop the Packers running game, one of the guys who's going to have a good game, coming off one of the best games of his career, if not the best, is Derrick Nnadi, the second-year defensive tackle out of Florida State. You've spent some time around Derrick Nnadi. What do you like about his game, and how important is he tonight? What do you want to see from him?
Man, not only did I spend time with Derrick Nnadi, he's from my hometown. He's been doing an amazing job in the community, being a big man in our community. He needs to be a big man tonight when it comes to the rushing game. Stopping up those A-gaps, not allowing that rushing game up the middle, make them go east-west, not north and south. Shut Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams down. If you can make the Packers one-dimensional, we have a chance.
Yep, absolutely. And right now, we're going to take a look around the league because there's a lot of action across the NFL that's already taken place. And we're going to start with the AFC West games. And we might just finish there, but the Chargers escaped Chicago with a 17-16 win. They had lost 3 straight before Bears kicker Eddie Pinheiro missed the kick at the end of that game that would have given him the win. He hit one earlier. The Bears had all the trouble finding a kicker. They thought they found one, but he didn't come through today.
Man, Coach Nagy, it looked like they were saving it down, just trying to put it in the right place for him to make that field goal, and he ended up missing it. A quiet game from Keenan Allen, but a monster game, a great game from one David Montgomery.
Yeah, he went off 135 rushing yards. He got into the end zone. Big 12 country will remember him from Iowa State. But one of the other AFC West games, the Denver Broncos, they dropped a heartbreaker. If you're a Broncos fan, you're probably not watching the show, but Chiefs fans will enjoy it. They had a tough loss to the Indianapolis Colts. It was Adam Vinatieri, missed an extra point and a field goal earlier in the game, but you get that guy late in the fourth quarter in a game-winning situation. Doesn't matter if it's 51 yards at 51 years old. He's going to nail that kick, and he did. It gave the Indianapolis Colts that victory.
Jacoby Brissett came up really big in that last game-winning drive. Almost caught on the goal line for a safety by Von Miller. Got out of Von Miller's grasp and hit T.Y. Hilton for a big gain, and that gain led to that game-winning field goal. Unfortunately for the Broncos, another last-minute loss.
Yeah, you hear Joe Flacco. It's going to be talked about all week. He was not thrilled with the play calling and just the lack of just trying to get after it, the lack of just they got to figure out something. They got to create some energy. They got to go do something, and they got to get after it. They're 2-6. They got to push the envelope a little bit. And Joe Flacco was pretty frustrated. Sounds like Philip Lindsay was pretty frustrated as well. And then the final game that just ended not too long ago, the Raiders and the Texans. The Texans actually pulled that one out with a score of 27-24, but the big one coming from this is that didn't come without a cost for the Texans. The reports are J.J. Watt could be lost for the season with a torn pec.
Man, big loss. It's a costly loss for the Texans. They have playoff hopes, playoff bounds. It can be a short postseason without one J.J. Watt. He's such an instrumental part of that defense. But part of Chiefs Kingdom, we loved it. The Raiders lost, so I'm proud and loud about that. So good job, Houston Texans.
If it wasn't for the Chargers, it could have been a clean sweep for the AFC West because everybody else was on the road, but the Chargers got that big win against the Bears. But good, don't worry, Chiefs Kingdom, no matter what happens tonight, Chiefs will still be the only team in the division with a winning record. So this entire week, you're still going to be in first place no matter what happens tonight. But maybe the Chiefs can shock the world. We broke down some of those things that could do that and the reasons why that could happen. Chiefs 7-3-1 all-time against the Green Bay Packers. And we talked about this a little bit last week about facing your former teams. But for Andy Reid, this game has got to mean a little something too, as he got his start in the NFL with the Green Bay Packers.
Man, as a guy who played for Andy Reid when I was in Philadelphia, whenever he had a chance to go back and play against a team we played against before, he tried to act like it wasn't about him, but as a player in the locker room, we always tried to give a little bit more. We knew we wanted to knock that chip off his shoulder and let him walk out of that game, out of that stadium proud about how he prepared our team to win. So I think our guys will be definitely prepared to play this game tonight.
Yeah, he didn't say it this week, but I would be surprised if Andy Reid wasn't a little fired up this week, knowing he didn't have Patrick Mahomes, knowing he can go out there and call a game, and he's not going to have a guy scrambling outside the pocket, throwing across his body, and doing all those things. He gets a chance to come out here and call a perfect game with the quarterback, again, that we talked about earlier. There are no tendencies for Matt Moore as the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. The Packers have nothing to go off of. Does that mean they're going to find success? Not necessarily, but it gives that little added advantage that a lot of people might not be thinking about, and the Packers defensive coaches are definitely thinking about that. But for anybody, we're going to do a quick internal initiatives here real quick. For anyone that's watching who's still planning on walking in, if you're sitting up in the stands watching on your phone, if you want to be a part of the pregame light show, the Light Up Arrowhead, make sure you have the Chiefs app, that you open it up and click the Join the Light Show. It's going to be a lot of cool. We did it in the last Sunday night game. They're doing it again tonight. It's going to be cool during pregame introductions. Also, during halftime, Tony Gonzalez, the best tight end in NFL history, and Johnny Robinson, the long-awaited, much-deserved honor for him going into the Hall of Fame earlier this season. They are getting their rings at halftime here of this game, and that ceremony is going to be streamed on all the Chiefs social channels. So the same way you're watching this right now, you'll be able to watch that halftime ceremony, and that is going to be one to remember. And finally, the Chiefs Kingdom food drive, which is also going on right now for anybody who came to the game who wanted to bring a canned food. If you want to participate, if you want to donate, you can still do that. If you're sitting at home, go to harvesters.org, and you can follow all the prompts from there, and that will give you an opportunity to help out the Chiefs Kingdom food drive, which is the largest of its kind in the NFL. And Shawn, now that we got that stuff out of the way, I can take a deep breath. We knocked it out. What final thoughts going into this game? What do you got?
Arrowhead Stadium, loud and proud. If you want to make an impact on this game, don't worry about AR-12. You be the 12th man here tonight. We want to see some false starts. We want to see them can't hear, no audibles. Make them win the game on the field and allow our team to take control of this game and win it. Pound and ground, the toughest man wins. Let's go Chiefs.
You're getting fired up. He can barely spit it all out. He's so fired up. He wants to get out there and play. Again, everybody, thank you for watching tonight's show. We appreciate it. Catch Chiefs Rewind after the game with Shawn Barber and voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. For our producer, Anna Topkin, and everybody involved here with Field Pass, we appreciate you watching. Enjoy your night, Chiefs Kingdom.